Hi everybody, this is John back with another model final reveal video. We're looking at the Airfix Sidderley Buccaneer S Mark II, and the variant that I actually made was an S Mark II-D circa 1976, which was carrier borne aboard the Royal Naval Aircraft Carrier HMS Ark Royal. Not a lot of history to the actual aircraft. I'm not really interested in the history of the aircraft, but what I am interested in is the actual finished product. The kit itself, it was never really regarded by the modelling community and the reviewers, the pro reviewers and the IPMS, as being a superb kit. But that said, I don't think it produces a bad model. The underside is quite nice. I'll just turn this over so you can see the underside. The underside is actually quite nice as well, and the stenciled decals for the kit are really nice as well. And the kit went together without any real problems whatsoever. Although I did have one minor problem, which probably could be overcome with a little bit of forethought and foreknowledge. When you're assembling the cockpit interior, the model itself, it wants you to put a couple of parts into the interior of the cockpit before you assemble the fuselage half. And the fuselage halves are top and bottom, they're not side and side. So when you're putting the pilots into place, the rear pilot, the WSO if you like, he goes in no problem whatsoever. But the guy who sits in the front, the pilot, I had a lot of bother getting his feet to fit underneath the instrument panel and the joystick that comes out from underneath the instrument panel. He did eventually go in. I had to really force him in. I had to really coax him in. It was quite an ordeal, and he really didn't. It's like he didn't really want to take off from the carrier at all today. But he did eventually go in, but that was the only real issue I had with the kit. There's plenty of weight in the nose to weight this thing down. It doesn't tail sit at all. And it is quite a nice kit. And the actual model colour, the dark sea grey that I used to paint this kit, is a suggested colour from Hornby Products, which is Humbrol Coat 123, which is a dark sea grey colour, and it does sort of match the Royal Naval colours quite well. The yellow bands on the wings are actually decals, and the decals on this kit actually laid on really nicely. There was a little bit of silvering on these two panels here above the engine nacelles, and I think they probably would have disappeared if I'd have used gloss varnish and then satin coated the kit over the top. But I thought I'd have a go with a satin coat, because it is a satin coat finish. It's not a matte finish on this kit, and I thought it would have done the trick, but it didn't, unfortunately. But there we go. So anyway, final thoughts on the kit. It's a nice model. It's fairly accurate. It's a bit crude in terms of aircraft. The actual fit of the aircraft itself needs a little bit of work to get rid of some of the join lines, and the wings. The wings, one of them butts up quite nice and the other one didn't. You can see the starboard wing on this side here. It's got a join line, and the other side it's a much better butt close-up join. But you have to remember that the Buccaneer has folding wings, so you shouldn't really be filling those gaps at all anyway. But this one obviously has quite a poor fit. In terms of a folding wing, obviously. Now, I do recommend this kit. I think it's quite an enjoyable build. It's quite an accurate kit as well. Overall outline of the airframe itself is quite accurate, but I don't think it's a par on the new release Buccaneer that's released by Hornby Products now. I think the new release is one of the best Buccaneers on the market in 72nd scale, and their 48 scale Airfix kit, which I think was originally a Heller model, that's quite a nice kit and quite sought after. It fetches quite a bit of money here and there. The alternative scheme for these, there are three options, and I think if you were a Buccaneer fan, I mean, I quite like the Buccaneer as an aircraft. I remember seeing them flying at various air shows in the 70s, and they were quite impressive. But if you're a Buccaneer fan, the two options that come with this particular model would probably be quite an interesting addition to your collection, because the first option is Operation Granby, which was a Gulf War, if you like, the flying banana, as the Buccaneer became known as. And the second option is this one. This is the S2D, which is carrier borne aboard HMS Ark Royal. And the third option was an S Mark 51 from the Royal South African Air Force. And that colour scheme I was very tempted to do myself. But I did have somebody who actually commented that he lived in South Africa, and he was looking for a model of the Buccaneer because he always quite liked the Buccaneer, and I must admit it did look quite nice. You know, some of the photos I've downloaded to have a look at the Mark 51, it is a nice option, and I think it's quite a colourful, attractive scheme to the Buccaneer. It definitely would lend well to a good collection for you. Anyway, that's the Airfix Buccaneer. I hope this video has been of some use. I would recommend this kit to each and every one of you. I think it's a cheap and cheerful model. I've actually seen quite a few of these go for as little as £5 recently, very recently, but they usually go for about 10 or 12 quid, and I think they're a cheap and cheerful and quite a nice build. I enjoyed building this kit, and it does go together quite fast. And it's quite easy to get into those accessible parts that need painting and all the rest of it. The main issue, there's another main issue that I had with the model, but it's really just a gripe about the kit really. It's the fact that the wheels and the undercarriage oleos are not separate parts. So painting those, as you can see here, you can paint them up, but they're not separate parts, and painting them is a bit more of a chore than it could have been. If they were separate wheels and oleo legs, I think it would have been an easier task to paint the undercarriage and the wheels up. You know, there's another quick tip I wanted to show you as well. The canopy itself. A lot of people paint the canopy frames on Buccaneers silver, and they're not. They're actually a combination of two colours. The dark sea grey for the forward section and the outer frame of the rear sliding section or opening section, and then the interior, the internal frame part of the canopy itself. I've actually used a matte stone, which is a very light tan brown. The actual colour itself is it's like a sort of a light tan putty colour. And I think I used matte 71 for the colour on that, but you have to paint it because of the build of the actual canopy itself. I've had a look online, and the internal section of that frame there, you can see the mid part section is actually the frame that is around the internal blast shield, because the canopies are split into two, and the canopy closes down over the top of the blast shield, and then the interior section of the canopy is also sealed, pressurization sealed, and that's why it's a different colour, because these sections here are actually the seals for the pressurization rubber that holds the pressure inside the canopy for the Buccaneer crew, and that's why it's a different colour. They shouldn't be silver, they should be like a very light stone colour. Similar to, I would say, a lot of radar nose cone colours from the early 70s, which you had around about here and there in NATO airframes, and that's the colour that I would recommend you use. Anyway, it's a nice, cheap, cheerful kit. Thoroughly recommend it. It's an enjoyable build, and I had a lot of fun putting this thing together. Hope this video has been of use. Hope your modelling projects are running smooth, and thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye bye for now.